something sweet. It's why people can eat complex carbohydrates till the cows come home, because it's going to take them 6 or 8 or 10 or 12,
Testing.
depending on what they eat it with, hours, before they can convert those complex carbohydrates into utilizable simple sugars through complex digestion processes. And so, especially if they've delved into the raw food world somewhat and learned to eat volume of food like nobody else knows how in the world, and then you go back and eat a bowl of rice or baked potatoes or what it may be, and then you sit down and you eat 12 baked potatoes, or the entire pound of pasta, or the whatever, and you go, and you eat yourself until you fall asleep, and you're still, and then you go, I'd really like to have something sweet. Because that's what we're looking for. So yes, it is possible. It's also possible for a raw fooder to learn how to eat, realize that certain fruits are richer, more rich, more calories per bite than others. And if they're not also being physically active, so they've reduced their calorie needs dramatically, but that hasn't changed their physiology or their anatomy. You still require, we are set up to require a certain volume in order to experience satiation. It's the volume that comes in fruit. Hence, when the NASA program first got started, and they're putting astronauts out in space, and they're trying to figure out how to feed them. Because the food just floats around in zero gravity, and it makes a mess inside the capsule when your food is all, soup is a no starter. Gets in the keyboard something fierce, and these guys want to come back. They like their equipment to function. And eventually what they came up with was various kinds of tubes and sucky straws and things that never even open at all, so that they could control the food. But before that, they said, here's the solution. We're just going to take all the nutrients, put them into capsules, give the guys little tablets that they can eat, and they can eat a few tablets a day and take in all their nutrients. Well, that works fine nutritionally, except the guys aren't satiated. They want to eat like 500 of those tablets. And it's the same problem in American food today. What we see is that little tiny portions of intensely caloric, dense food doesn't work because people need to eat more volume than that, and so they order 6 Big Macs because 1 Big Mac just isn't enough food volume, even with the bun. Which is why, very simply put, Americans can't control their weight, because they're trying to control their biology. They're trying to control their anatomy. You can't take that stuff under control. Our brain says volume. Our stomach says eat volume. Eat until you're satiated, and small quantity won't do it, even though it was enough calories. Which then works against the raw fooder when he first comes to 80-10-10 from an American diet and says, I can't eat enough food. I ate an apple, I was full. Which is fine, because usually they've got weight to lose. And in the time required to lose that weight, they gain the skills of eating the volume, and it just plays right in. And by the time they need to eat more volume, they already are. Until then, they can burn off some of that excess fat, and everybody's happy all the way through the program. Did I see a question?
You mentioned earlier about requiring
not much digestion for vegetables because it's water, it's fiber,
Fruit.
or juice. You're referring to juice earlier. I know you do a lot of water fasting and stuff like that with your trees. What would be the big difference then, just to clarify, between water and green juice in terms of the physical requirement on the body? And I know you have a reason for it, but what would be wrong with just fasting with juice as opposed to water?
The question is what's the difference basically, or what would be wrong with fasting on juices from vegetables as opposed to fasting on water? My understanding of fasting and the way we use it in our terminology is that fasting is a period of comprehensive rest. It is deep rest.
Let me phrase it. Feasting. Who's feasting?
I understand whether it's feast. I'm not arguing with terminology. In this state of as deep rest as we can get, because rest is a relative term. Even though it's an activity, it is a relative term. The person who's running might rest by running more slowly, whereas the person who's walking is resting compared to the runner, unless it's up a hill, in which case the runner is working harder than the walker. The person who's standing still is resting compared to the walker. The person who's sitting is resting compared to the to the stander. The person who's lying down is resting compared to the sitter. The person with eyes closed is resting compared to the person with eyes open. The person who has nothing going through their digestive tract, so that no peristalsis, muscular contractions, have to happen in order to move the mass down the tract, is resting compared to the person who's drinking green juices. However, when they're drinking green juices, or fruit juices, or any kind of juices, there is always a carbohydrate component. At least some, because all plants have carbohydrates, as far as I know. So there's always a carbohydrate component. And typically what we see with people on a juice program is that they're almost hyper with activity, with energy. They're ready to go. They're not trying to maximize rest. They're going, oh, I've got more energy than I've had in ages, and I'm just getting around doing everything, and I'm getting to things I never used to get to, and I'm just doing fine on this juice thing. And I don't argue that they are forced by juicing to eliminate all of the things that were probably harmful. They're not juicing pizza. They're not juicing coffee. They're not juicing donuts. They're not juicing ham and cheese sandwiches. Right? So they've eliminated a fantastic number of things that were hurting them, counterproductive. And now they're giving credit to the green juice or the juice as being the thing that's making them feel so good, and it's not. What's making them feel so good is that they stopped hurting themselves, eating the foods that were difficult to digest or outright harmful. And when you eliminate the things that are hard on you, you feel better right away. But it is not in any way the same as taking a rest. So I look at resting as coming through many stages. And when we get to the extreme end of all of those stages, and we're now including and recognizing that rest comes in various forms, there's physical rest, there's emotional rest, there's physiologic rest, there's sensory rest. And when we take all of those forms of rest, don't worry, I'll take care of it for you. Emotional rest as well is a big part. When we take all of them to their end point, we begin fasting. Fasting is extreme resting. It's an extreme sport. It is an activity. Most people think of resting as if it was doing nothing. Doing nothing, to me, is an activity. I'm doing something. What are you doing? Resting. It's an ing verb. I'm doing something. Resting is an activity, as is sleeping. So for me, the juice diet, the juice fast, the mono fruit program, all of these will take the person off of the things that were harming them. They will feel better. They'll supply conditions that are really great in terms of allowing the body to heal itself, but they're not fasting. Fasting happens at the extreme rest. That's the only time it happens. It's the only time that physiology can kick in. And when we fast, nature has already set it up for us as an obvious safeguard for us that healing of all types are optimized, or is optimized, when we fast. Hence, the mountain lion falls down the mountain and tumbles and breaks his leg. He just lays there and fasts until he heals or dies. But the quickest way to heal is going to be fasting. We typically see in human beings that broken bones heal in approximately half the time expected for a person who's eating if they simply fast. Typically see 50 to 60% less time required. And all types of healing is accelerated to its maximum during the healing process, during the fasting process.
Immunity needs to be enhanced for like optimal healing, and your immunity not require nutrition of some sort.
Unity?
No, immunity.
What about immunity?
I mean, our immunity, isn't that part of our healing process that our immunity needs to be somewhat strong? And doesn't that require nutrition on some level? And even energy, ATP, just to sort of fuel all of that process? Just sort of
I will, hopefully later this week, have time to talk about immunity for a while. I don't believe we have any immunity to anything. If I stick my hand in boiling water, I burn. And I don't think we're immune in the way that I understand immunity, meaning not having to suffer the consequences of our actions, like diplomatic immunity. When you get pulled over and you go, I've got diplomatic immunity, you can't give me a speeding ticket. You are definitely going to have to suffer the consequences or enjoy the consequences of your actions. We don't experience immunity, as I understand it, nor do we have, in my opinion, and it can be argued, nor do we have what is known as the immune system, unless we rewrite the anatomy books and the style with which anatomy is taught, because up until 1985, anatomy books and anatomy philosophy said that all structures of the body, any individual structure of the body, can only be in one system of the body. Can't be in two systems. Certainly not at the same time. And so a bone is part of the skeletal system, and a muscle is part of the muscular system, right? And, testosterone is part of the endocrine system, and the different parts are only in one system. It wasn't until 1985 that the idea that you could have, with the advent of the immune system, an entire new system was developed or designed, or if you wish, discovered, but no new structures were discovered.